Well, as promised, here we are with George and Olive Osmond. Some of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life, and I think that just being nice people has reflected itself in what's happened with their wonderful family. But we're not here to talk about show business so much, although we will get into that some. We're here to talk about the great American institution, the family, as I said a few minutes ago. George and Olive Osmond, it's nice to have you on Ruff House, and it's nice for Ruff to be in your house.
Thank you very much. It's nice to have you here.
Well, it's been a warm welcome for us, and we very much appreciate it. The Osmond family, of course, is an institution in so many ways. It's a show business institution. It's now becoming a financial institution, a little financial empire. And an awful lot of people watch very carefully what the Osmonds do. How does it feel to live in a fishbowl?
Well, we haven't known anything else since about 1962. We're getting used to it.
I guess it's kind of a normal state by now. How did the Osmond family as an institution, as opposed from just being a family like other families, get started?
Well, a lot of people say, think maybe we pushed our children into show business, if this answers your question. But we didn't. We followed these children. We knew what they seemed to know what they wanted, and we felt we were financially fixed at the time to push them the way they wanted to go.
Did you start them with the musical training very young, very early in life?
Oh, yes.
We've always had a lot of music in our home. George has a lovely voice. I used to play a saxophone in a dance band.
George. Olive gave them the musical training.
No, but we always sang and had music going home. We started a little combo for them when they were big enough to play anything, and they would sing, and Dad taught them how to sing their harmony parts when they were very young. They started at church, and then the civic groups, and then the barbershop association. It was just something they loved.
Well, it's an interesting combination of events. You have a very attractive family. They're talented. It kind of everything came together all in one place in a very interesting way. Have you had any qualms along the way? Any feelings of concern about the effect upon your family and your children of getting into this show business juggernaut that seems to have developed over the years?
Well, I don't think we can really say we have, Howard. Being Mormons, we follow the principles of, we follow the word of wisdom, and
which is the church's code of health. And
that's right. These things all have a tendency to hold you in line.
And everyone should develop his talents. I think parents, if they find their child is talented in a certain direction, they should really push that for them. They should really encourage them and help them to develop. Everyone can't sing, but there are a lot of artists, there are a lot of engineers, there are a lot of famous people, doctors. I mean, they all have their place.
Now, I spent enough years in show business myself to know that is a very rough world out there. That the kind of people that you often are called upon to associate with aren't the kind of people you might have ordinarily chosen as your best friends, that they don't share these Mormon values that you grew up with. How have you coped with that, and have you worried about that?
Well, one more thought there. They say that father isn't always right, but he's still always father. And they have given me that privilege of being the head of the home, and it's easier to handle it that way. I have a wife that backs me up 100%.
I think that's the secret of a good family, is to have a good, strong father at the head of it that will assume his proper roles, and it makes things a lot more pleasant for everyone concerned. He's been quite a disciplinarian. He's figures that's his duty, and what the Lord expects of him is to bring his children up righteously, and he has asked for that kind of respect and has received it.
You know, that's a rather unpopular view in a lot of circles today. You understand?
She didn't say that right. Mine was the easy job. Let's see. Olive gives them the love, and I give them the discipline. But mine was the easy one of the two.
I think discipline is a form of love. I think a child feels protected and secure when he knows that there are certain limits beyond which he can't go.
And you know, I empathize with this. You have 9 children. I have 9 children. And I think that the key in our life, in our family, has been that we decided in the beginning that whatever else we might end up being in the world, being powered rough prophet of doom, and that first and foremost I'm a husband and father. And I think that the key in your life has been that was your decision. You weren't first and foremost head of a show business institution. You were parents.
No, we still have a rule that we follow, and we've been counseled to keep it this way. We have family first, church second, and business third. And as long as we keep those priorities in that order, we have no problems. Getting back to one thing you said, though, about the evils of show business and the people involved, I guess we've been fortunate because the people that we have run into in show business have been the kindest, sweetest, hardworking, ambitious, talented people, and they have been so helpful to us that we really can't say much bad about show business.
Well, that's very interesting. Maybe you've because of the very nature of the kind of people you are, you've drawn that kind of people to you.
We've run into some
I'd like
beautiful
to
people.
Expound on one thought you had there. I believe children expect you to draw guidelines, and if you don't draw them, society's going to have to do it for you. And they want this. They expect it. Don't you think that's true?
Not only do I think it's true, but I think it's absolutely the cornerstone of making it work. I've always felt that the most important responsibility of a parent is to pass on his values to the next generation. I've always felt that there are certain values that hold society together, the glue that holds it together, and if they don't get passed on to the next generation, that we have rates of change in values and mores and morals and sexual behavior and everything that society simply can't cope with. And it's disorienting to whole nations and societies. That's why I studied as an economist. And the key is the family. That's the nurturing and teaching unit of society. And if we don't take these firm stands and systematically see that the next generation shares them and will pass them on to their children, it takes about 2 generations for a society to disintegrate.
Don't you feel that this is great protection? Because you don't need to touch a stove to know you're going to get burned. They need this kind of protection. Look at the things you can bypass. You don't have to try everything to see if it's what you want in life.
Yeah, I think the average teenage girl out there who's been in love with Donnie for the last several years can't relate to the fact that maybe Donnie could get in trouble for coming in too late from a date, or he would be scolded because he didn't clean up his room. And it's people just sometimes can't relate to a show business personality along with those kinds of things that they have to deal with in their life. But I guess your kids had to cope with those same sorts of things.
Oh, of course. Our kids are very normal. I think that when you hear parents moaning about their children, about their problems and so forth, I have to kind of smile because the problem lies right in the lap of the parents. They shouldn't blame the kids so much. The parents are the ones who should be taking the blame. My father was a great teacher, and he always used to say, if the student hasn't learned, the teacher hasn't taught. And that applies to parenthood as much as anything.
That's very profound. Well, I think we'll come back in just a moment. Maybe I'd like to know what they did do to Donnie when he came in late. I'd like to talk about some of these discipline styles, and we will be back in just a few moments. These are the kind of people that I feel I could be good friends with. You're just awful nice people. It's nice to be here. In fact, I guess we kind of have been. I've been watching you on television. You've been reading me in print.
Oh, yeah, I follow you very carefully.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. And we've had a chance to chat off camera about some things other than these things. But we're pursuing a point here. You know, I've got a lot of people that are going to be out there watching who, again, have trouble bridging Donnie and Marie as an institution to Donnie and Marie as kids, as members of a family. Has the fact that they are show business personalities created any special discipline problems? How do you deal with the potential ego problems that come out of these show business situations? Or have you had any such problems?
No, we've never had an ego problem. That's one advantage of having a large family. If anyone has the tendency to have an ego problem, they soon get put where they belong.
Oh boy, do I know that. I was telling George and Olive off camera that sometimes I'll go out someplace and I'll lecture and I'll do TV interviews and I come home feeling pretty inflated and I walk in the house and I say, ta-da, here I am, everybody. And Pam says, hi, Dad, can I use the car? And my wife says, would you please talk to Timmy? He's been teasing Debbie again. And then I get a call from the church wanting to know if I completed my assignment. And when you get a big family like that, it does tend to get things back in perspective, doesn't it?
I should say.
They have a saying, too, that they don't care who's out front, just so it's an Osmond. And so whoever has the chance, the opportunity to be out there, the rest of them are backing them up 100%.
I think that's really interesting. You probably have, if I read you right, you probably never have had an envy problem in the family as to who's out front.
No.
Every show, for example, needs a gimmick.
Yeah.
Jay was our first gimmick. You remember the old Andy Williams days? He followed the camera.
Oh, sure.
No teeth.
No teeth.
Yeah.
Then came Donnie, and he stayed very well out in the limelight more than the rest, I suppose. Then Marie made her debut, and she's done very well. Little Jim has been popular all along. He got us our first gold record over in Japan when he was
We did our first
5 years
movie,
old.
too. He just
Yeah, I
finished
know
it.
that.
But they've all had these turns, and then when that's over, they settle back into a normal way of life. And we'll, like she says, we'll run with the one that has the ball.
I guess their life is normal. It's normal to us, but it probably wouldn't be normal to a lot of people. Like, they've had private tutoring, and they've traveled all over the world several times, and it's just a constant job. I mean, we're working all the time. But they love us. They've learned to grow up that way, and...
Well, you're a Mormon family, and as you've indicated, that's been a very important part of your lives. Have you been able to maintain normal church activity? Has it?
Oh, yes. George is on the High Council. I'm on the Stake Relief Society board. Kids all hold jobs, and they teach, and they give talks. And then we, under the assignment from the brethren, we go out and do firesides quite often.
That's from the general authorities of the church in Salt Lake.
That's our missionary activities. So we feel that we're coping with it just as much as anyone else, really.
If we're tied up, why, they excuse us and we catch it the next round.
Have you had any trouble from some of the kooks and oddballs out there in terms of personal safety? I would think that could be a possible
I think
problem.
most performers cope with that, but we have a tremendous amount of security around us.
We have
and
good security.
we like to live as normal as possible and just forget about them if we can.
Do you have to insulate yourself from the world a little bit?
Oh, yes. We
Sure.
take plenty of precautions.
I would imagine that's the case. I've run into just a little bit of that myself on my own scale of values here.
But, you know, we have a group of fans that follow us are the most beautiful kids in the world, and grown-ups, too. Actually, our following since the Donnie Marie show has included the whole perspective, the old people as well as the young. And they're beautiful people. And the letters we get are just fantastic.
You know what has made me mad sometimes? Television reviewers and people who write about show business tend to be a pretty cynical crowd. Has it bothered you the way it's offended me, knowing what I do about your family, to hear the kind of snide sarcasm that you get sometimes about the so-called goody-goody image of Donnie and Marie and so forth? Does that bother you? Do you shrug that off?
We have to shrug it off. We can't let it bother us.
It's hard for people to believe that this is all for real.
We don't want to be like some of the world is, so to speak, and if it's going to offend them, then that's too bad. We try to keep our standards high and
What's wrong with
maintain
trying to live
it.
a good life?
Right. What's wrong
What's
with it?
wrong with it?
Do you remember the good old days when a politician could actually get elected by being against sin and in favor of motherhood? You know, those days are a long ways behind us for an awful lot of people. And it's a shame. The world's turned upside down in so many ways. What a wonderful thing it is to have an oasis of wholesomeness coming at you on television, sandwiched between the murders and the rapes.
We've had problems with that in our records, for example. A lot of disc jockeys are turned off by the clean, wholesome image. Those who favor the drugs and the bad lyrics and so forth. Our kids won't sing bad lyrics. In fact, they do the Donnie Marie show. They screen every song that goes through, and if it's a good song and they like it, they'll change little few words so that it's clean and wholesome when they sing it. But to record some of the things that are being recorded, they just absolutely refuse to do it, whether it means the career or not.
What are the plans for the future for the Osmond family? I know that you're really kind of wrapped up in this
Let me
marvelous
recap this
television
one thing
production
she
thing.
said,
Oh, go
Howard.
ahead. You bet.
Mid-America will always win out because we got a lot of beautiful people in this country, and Mid-America is going to win.
I think there's a silent majority out there that wants wholesomeness and cleanness. And I really do. I think they're back of us 100%.
You know, one of the most wonderful, wholesome things I ever saw in my life was your Christmas show last year.
Thank
With the
you.
whole family there. That was beautiful. In fact, we have it on our Betamax, and my little kids drag it out every once in a while just to watch it over and over
Oh,
again.
thank you.
Hey, I'm a fan, let's face it. I really am.
Well, we want everyone to like the Osmonds naturally. Some maybe don't agree with us on certain issues, but hey, maybe we're not always right, too.
That's where free agency comes in. We're happy that we have the free agency to do what we want to do. We have some great plans for the future.
Yeah, we have a minute to go. Why don't you kind of just fill us in very briefly on what your plans are for the future? What's in it for the Osmond family?
I guess movies is our big one. We're coming into it stronger all the time.
Good, wholesome family movies.
Wholesome family
Using your
movies.
production facilities here
Right.
in Utah.
And television, of course, we're going to do more and more shows and records. We're going to get into some educational things. We're going to go into the video discs eventually. And, we're always cooking up something. I'm even getting into the genealogy.
Yeah, you're very interested in genealogy, computerized. I'm fascinated with that. I want to know more about it. It's our family's interested
Everyone
in that.
likes
I have a real great plan for that.
Well, it's been wonderful to visit with you. I really appreciate being a guest in your home. You got any last shots at us you'd like to take here? Last comments?
Well, we appreciate your coming. Appreciate
Absolutely,
your
and I think more
thoughtfulness.
people should follow that. Your bulletins, I live by. I appreciate good common sense. I think you show a lot of it.
Well, I thought you'd never say that. Hey, that's wonderful. It's
I
nice
keep
to
them
be
all
here.
on the file so we can refer to them. Huh?
Well, it's been wonderful to be visiting with the Osmonds. And we'll be back in just a few moments with some questions.